So, we are back on Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. I want to cover specific art pieces in the gallery that show animations for attacks that were never completed for the final version of the game. Starting off in Marvel vs. Capcom, this one is about Venom, and it looks like animations for different super moves. If someone could translate all the text, that would help. So anyways, each one has a title, followed by the number 1, 2, and 3. Which could indicate that they were all separate super moves. This one on the left looks like a grab animation with the symbiote. He then slams the opponent to the side a few times, holds them up, and the symbiote performs a multiple bite animation from different angles. This one does look cool. The one on the top right looks like an early version of the super move with 2 kick buttons, but a slightly different animation. The last one on the bottom right looks like an enhanced version of his Venom Fang special move, but with multiple heads during a possible super move animation. Now let's move on to X-Men vs. Street Fighter. The first one here is about Magneto's air projectile. It looks like an early version was to have the waves closer together, but in the game, the waves were separated or had more space between them. The next one is about Gambit. This art shows how his special moves would have worked. His trick card, which is down, back, and punch, looks like it was supposed to shoot up diagonally, but then it would fall down. It seems like this idea did not work out, so they never did that final sequence, because in the game, he just shoots the trick card on an angle, and that's it. There's one for Cyclops that looks like maybe it's part of a grab animation. He's falling down towards the enemy, as you can see arrows on the side. Maybe that gives you the option to land on that side after falling, or perhaps it lets you spin around for a faster animation, which could result in more hits. I don't know, but still interesting. Or maybe it was a modified or early version of his air grab animation. But if we flip the image vertically, it seems to resemble his medium punch grab. You grab the enemy. The next animation is an optic blast at close range. This one can also be done in different angles, which could match the arrows that were in the art pieces. Another art piece for Cyclops shows multiple attacks. 2 of them are in the game. One of them is an animation during a grab or throw. The other one is his optic blast on the ground, which bounces, then goes up. But it's the other frames that I'm not sure about. It looks like a roll and arrows pointing to possible attacks afterwards, like a command grab or the optic blast on the ground. I think maybe that was the first idea, but later scrapped it and just took 2 of those animations and made them into a throw and separate special move. Then we have one with Wolverine. This looks like they were planning to have a mode that controls 2 characters at the same time and combining their super moves together. You could say it's the early design for the team super moves. I think the attack here is supposed to be the final animation during the Weapon X super move. That was something you could do in Marvel vs. Capcom, where you control 2 characters at once and do inputs for almost any super move.
Let's go.
This one shows a lot of attack ideas for Apocalypse. A few of them were used, and others were never in the game. We've got the finger laser that was never used in the final version of the game. Another one shows he was going to have a punching attack that would emerge from underneath the player. And the other one, I'm not sure what's going on here, but is he calling a clone of Apocalypse's smaller form, which would run towards the player and explode? And here we have the laser from the eye. Now this attack was not in X-Men vs. Street Fighter arcade version, but it was added to Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. The tracking shots in this picture were already in the arcade version of the game. He's also got some cannons on his back or shoulders. They would fire shots up, then they'd crash down and explode. The bottom attack looks like his neck would stretch out and bite the player, while the face might have a new animation. Apocalypse has a few unused attack animations. This one seems to do nothing. Perhaps it's another unfinished move that was left in the game. In Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Apocalypse had another unused move. his hand would transform into some kind of object. It floats forward, then goes back to normal. Let's move on to X-Men Children of the Atom. Sentinel has this attack that does not appear in the game, but this could be the one that would appear in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. During Spiral's grab super move in the air, Sentinel would appear doing this attack. There's a picture showing Storm levitating with wind around her body. I don't recall if this animation was in Children of the Atom, but if anyone knows about this animation, then tell me in the comments section. Psylocke had a cool attack where she jumped in the air, fell down on the enemy, and shoved a very large psychic energy blade right through their body. That's really cool. The shurikens thrown by Silver Samurai were originally supposed to have a different angle, but they were changed in the final version so it covers less of the screen as it travels. It looks like Spiral had some unused attack animations. She has this aura below her feet, then it travels to her multiple hands, and this beam is unleashed in front of her. Magneto was going to use both of his hands to unleash his Shockwave super move, but in the game, he only uses one hand for this attack. There's another one with Magneto, but the picture on the left is confusing. I just have no idea what it is. If you guys know, then tell me. By the way, in the arcade version of this game, if two players select Magneto, they have the same color. The same thing applies to Juggernaut. However, I found one website that claims the arcade version has secondary colors for the bosses, but when I make both players as the bosses, I don't get these extra colors. I even checked the PlayStation version and I could not get those extra colors. That website also states that it was a specific version number of the game, which I don't think I had access to. But they did change this in the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. In X-Men Children of the Atom, if both players are Magneto, the secondary color is yellow and black. This is the second color for Magneto in Marvel Superheroes, the game with the Infinity Gems. The same thing applies to Juggernaut. In Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, they gave him a different secondary color, which is the one he used in Marvel Superheroes. It's a small thing in Children of the Atom, but something I noticed. And as for Akuma, he already had a secondary color in the arcade version, so it was not changed in the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. Let's move on to Marvel Superheroes. This next one is not deleted content, but something unique for Thanos. We have this picture of Thanos with some distorted effect. This image is used in the game, but it only appears for Thanos when he uses the Mind Gem super move on his stage. The special background image was taken from the comic books about the Infinity Gems. There's also a bunch of other references from the comic books, like the ending and win quotes. If you use the Mind Gem super move on any other stage, you don't get that image of Thanos in the background. The enemy is just instantly affected by the gem's power. What it does is that it reverses your left and right inputs to confuse you. It's also unblockable and lasts for around 7 seconds. There's 2 sketches of Hulk that I want to look at. The first one looks like an early version of his Meteor super move, but this one has him throwing the meteor at the opponent. But in the game, he jumps up, grabs the meteor, holds it with both hands, and crashes to the ground. The other one looks like a grab animation with an extended attack in the third part. In Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, there's only a few that kinda stood out. There's one with Norimaru that shows frames for his attack called Ultra Variety Private Memories. It looks like one attack during this move was going to have him sitting on a chair while scrubbing his back with a towel, but the game had this changed to him sitting in a bathtub. The other page has images for the other frames during that super move. The one where he's holding a doll was replaced with a teddy bear. I was able to match all of these ones except for the one in the top right, where he's wearing a dress, so perhaps that single image was left out of the game. Unless if maybe that was replaced with the frame of him frying eggs while wearing pink shoes and a pink apron. There's a few websites that say Blackheart was going to have another super move. It was going to call forth a large version of Mephisto that would grab the enemy and breathe hellfire upon them. These are the unused sprites of Mephisto that are left within the game files. Now, let's move on to Marvel vs. Capcom 2. The first one I noticed was about Thanos. It seems like they were going to give him a different kick animation. I looked at Spiral's grab super move. Thanos does appear, but he does a different attack in both versions, so maybe this kick animation does not appear in the game. A few art sketches also cover the first form of Abyss. This one looks like they were planning to give this form an intro animation. As he sits on a throne, he might get up, and then the battle starts. This one shows him using a spear, then possibly tossing it into the air as it splits apart and rains down on the enemy. In the final version of the game, these animations were separated for different attacks. There's another sketch that shows this form of Abyss was going to break the pillars on the stage. He even had a grab or a throw animation at some point. This one here has this aura with an evil face around Abyss. Not sure what the purpose was, but it's another idea that was not in the game. Dr. Doom has a few sketches of different animations that were not in the game. The one in the bottom left might be a victory animation. The top left attack looks like he unleashes a giant wave. Perhaps the previous version was a longer horizontal variation. The other one looks like a super move. It starts with 2 hits, followed by a large energy blast up close on the enemy. Not sure if this one is a special move or if it's an alternate animation for a safe fall after a throw or knockdown. In this animation, it looks like a possible super move that involves a grab that finishes off with some type of energy blast. The last page has even more Dr. Doom attacks that we didn't see in the game. The top left looks like his projectile special move, but it had properties like Cable's Viper Beam, where it curves up and down. The bottom left section is another beam attack. Looks like they wanted the one-handed beam to shoot in different directions. Top right looks like a 2-handed attack that forms into a giant mouth. The last image looks like an early version of his Electric Cage super move, but this one is a one-handed variation and it might be stationary. There's other stuff I did not cover that were not in these games, but I mainly wanted to focus on the artwork and the gallery. So that's it for this video. It is pretty long, but thank you for watching. If you leave the comment, Marvel vs. Capcom, then I will put a heart on your comment. I will see you next time.